Billionaire mocked the black waitress in Arabic. But her fluent reply left him silent. Maya's hands were steady as she wiped down table 12, even though exhaustion lived deep in her bones. The lunch rush had finally ended, leaving behind crumpled napkins and coffee rings on worn tabletops. Through the diner's front window, she could see autumn leaves drifting down onto Main Street, gold and red against the gray October sky. She'd been at Harper's Diner since 5 that morning, and her shift wouldn't end until 9 tonight. 16 hours of smiling, pouring, carrying trays that felt heavier with each passing year. At 25, Maya sometimes felt ancient. But she touched the small compass pendant at her throat, her grandmother's, the only thing she had left of her, and remembered why she kept going. Dreams didn't pay for themselves. Neither did her little brother's medication. She straightened her shoulders, tucked a loose braid behind her ear, and turned toward the door as the bell chimed. The man who walked in wore a suit that probably cost more than her car. "Where are you watching from tonight?" Harper's Diner sat on the corner of 5th and Madison, the kind of place that had been serving coffee and comfort for 40 years. Maya had worked there for 3 years now, ever since she'd moved back home to take care of her brother, Marcus, after their grandmother passed. Marcus was 19, brilliant, and living with juvenile diabetes that required careful management and expensive supplies. Maya's dreams of graduate school, of using her linguistics degree for something more than reading the occasional menu in French, had been tucked away like old photographs, necessary sacrifices for the people she loved. The regulars knew her story. Old Mr. Chen, who came in every morning for green tea and toast, always left an extra $5. Sandra, the postal worker, had helped Maya apply for assistance programs. Even Pete, who owned the hardware store next door, had given her a discount on the new lock for their apartment. These people were her community, woven together by small kindnesses and shared struggles. The man in the expensive suit chose a booth by the window. Maya approached with her order pad and her customer service smile. "Good afternoon. What can I get you?" He barely glanced at her. "Coffee, black. And the lunch special." His tone suggested he was doing the diner a favor by existing in it. As she turned to leave, she heard him on his phone, speaking rapidly in Arabic. She recognized the dialect immediately. Lebanese, educated, probably Beirut. Her grandmother had been Lebanese, had raised Maya speaking Arabic alongside English, filling their small apartment with a musical cadence of a language Maya loved like a second heartbeat. She brought his coffee and caught fragments of his conversation. He was complaining about the neighborhood, the restaurant. Then his tone shifted, became cruel. Yes, the waitress is black. She looks like she doesn't understand anything. His companion laughed, and he continued. I bet she didn't even finish high school. Maya's hand stilled. Heat flooded her face. Not embarrassment, but something sharper. Anger, yes, but also a deep, weary sadness that people still made assumptions based on nothing but the color of her skin and the apron tied around her waist. She could walk away. But her grandmother's voice whispered, never let anyone diminish your worth. Maya took a breath, picked up his lunch plate, and walked back to his table. The man was still on his phone when Maya set down his plate. He didn't acknowledge her, didn't even look up. Maya stood there, her heart pounding. Then she spoke, her Arabic flowing with perfect fluency. I hope your food is satisfactory, though I'm quite stupid. The man's head snapped up. His face went through shock, then embarrassment. He ended his call abruptly. You speak Arabic, he said in English, his voice flat. Yes. My grandmother was from Beirut. She raised me bilingual. She also taught me that worth isn't measured by someone's job, but by how they treat others. A flush crept up his neck. Around them, the diner had gone quiet. Mr. Chen had lowered his newspaper. Sandra had stopped mid-bite. I apologize. That was inappropriate. It was. Maya agreed, not softening her tone. I have a bachelor's degree in linguistics. I speak 4 languages fluently. I work here because I take care of my younger brother, who has a chronic illness. I work here because I'm doing what needs to be done for my family. The man looked down at his plate. I truly am sorry. There's no excuse. Maya wanted to walk away, but her grandmother's voice whispered again, *, choose kindness when you can. It takes more strength than anger. *, your food's getting cold. Enjoy your meal. She walked back to the counter, her legs shaking. Behind the kitchen window, Lu gave her a small nod of respect. Mr. Chen raised his teacup to her. Sandra mouthed, "You're amazing. If this moment touched your heart, please give the video a thumbs up." The man ate in silence. When he finished, he left $100 bill under his empty coffee cup. Maya stared at it, unsure whether to feel grateful or insulted. Money couldn't erase his words. She pocketed it anyway. Marcus needed his insulin supplies, and pride was a luxury she couldn't afford. By 7 o'clock, Maya was counting down the hours. That's when the man came back. He stood just inside the door, looking uncertain. In his hands, he held a small bag from the bookstore down the street. Maya walked over slowly. "Can I help you?" "I wanted to apologize properly." He held out the bag. "This isn't to buy your forgiveness. But when you mentioned linguistics, I thought you might appreciate this." Maya pulled out a beautiful hardcover, a comparative linguistics study she'd wanted for months but couldn't justify buying. Her breath caught. "How did you know?" "I didn't. The clerk said it was their best linguistics book. I took a chance." He paused. "My name is Kareem Hassan. I own Hassan Development. I was here meeting with the city about a project." "Why does it matter?" Maya asked quietly. "That you're somebody important." "It doesn't. That's what you taught me today. When I spoke about you like that, I used assumptions to make myself feel superior. I was wrong. I was cruel. And I'm sorry. Tomorrow, I have a 2-hour break at noon. There's a cafe across the street, Rosie's. Tomorrow. Thank you, Maya." That night, Maya rode the bus home with the book in her lap. When she got to their apartment, Marcus was doing homework at the kitchen table. "Good day?" he asked. "Interesting day." She told him the story, watching his eyes go wide. "You told him off in Arabic? That's so cool. Grandma would have loved that." Later, lying in bed, Maya thought about Kareem Hassan. About the cruelty of his words and the sincerity of his apology. About the risk of meeting him tomorrow. She touched her grandmother's compass pendant. "Which direction now, Grandma?" she whispered. But she already knew. Forward. Always forward, with courage and grace. The next day, Maya found herself nervous. She changed her shirt twice, settling on the blue one that made her eyes stand out. Kareem was already at Rosie's, sitting at a corner table with 2 coffees. He stood when he saw her. "I didn't know how you take it, so I got it black with cream and sugar on the side." "Black is fine." They talked for 2 hours that felt like 20 minutes. Kareem told her about growing up in Detroit, the son of Lebanese immigrants who'd worked themselves to exhaustion. About building his company from nothing. About the pressure of success and the loneliness that came with it. Maya told him about her grandmother, about the stories she'd told in Arabic while braiding Maya's hair. About her mother, who'd left when Maya was 12. About Marcus and his diagnosis, about putting her dreams on hold. "You're extraordinary," Kareem said quietly. "What you've sacrificed, that takes more courage than anything I've ever done." "It's not courage. It's just love." "That's the definition of courage," Kareem replied. As they talked, Maya felt something shift, a door opening to possibility. Not just romance but connection. Understanding. The feeling that someone saw her truly. "I have a proposition," Kareem said. "My company funds scholarships for people who've had to interrupt their education. Would you consider applying? You could finish your graduate degree. Online programs, part-time. The scholarship would include a stipend for living expenses, medical costs." Maya felt her throat tighten. I can't leave Marcus. We could structure it to support both of you. It sounded too good to be true. But as she looked at Kareem's earnest face, she saw not pity but genuine respect. If you've been enjoying this story, subscribe for more heartwarming tales. Let me think about it. Of course. Take all the time you need. Kareem wrote on a business card. That's my personal number. Just if you want to talk. Over the next weeks, Maya and Kareem met regularly. He met Marcus, and they talked about basketball and science. Kareem never pushed, never presumed, but he was present in a way that felt steady and safe. Maya applied for the scholarship. When the acceptance letter came, she cried for an hour, tears of relief and joy and hope that had been dormant for so long. A year later, Maya stood at Harper's diner counter, but this time she wasn't wearing an apron. She'd brought Kareem to meet the people who'd become her family. She was finishing her master's degree in applied linguistics, working part-time as a translator, and Marcus's medical expenses were covered by a program Kareem's foundation had helped arrange. The regulars gathered around, celebrating Maya's upcoming graduation. Lou had made a special cake. Mr. Chen brought tea from his personal collection. Sandra presented her with a photo album filled with pictures from her years at the diner. You're going to do great things, Sandra said, hugging her tight. You already have. Maya looked around at these faces she loved, at Marcus beside Kareem, laughing. She thought about the day Kareem had walked in, about words that had cut and the courage she'd found. About how sometimes the worst moments became doorways to the best ones. She touched her grandmother's compass pendant. It pointed everywhere at once now, to all the possibilities ahead. Graduate school and translation work, and maybe teaching. A relationship with Kareem that had grown from respect into something deeper. Marcus healthy and thriving. Maya whispered, "My dear, you are strong and wise." Then louder, "Thank you all. For seeing me, for supporting me, for reminding me that kindness matters most." The celebration continued, laughter and coffee and stories shared like gifts. Outside, autumn leaves were falling again, just like they had been that day a year ago. But everything else had changed. That night, walking home with Marcus and Kareem through the October evening, Maya thought about language, how it could wound and heal, divide and connect. How her words in Arabic had been both shield and bridge. She thought about her grandmother, about the gifts she'd given. Not just language, but wisdom to know when to speak and when to listen, when to stand firm and when to extend grace. The compass pendant rested against her heart, steady and sure. And Maya, walking between her brother and the man who'd once mocked her, felt peace. Not the absence of struggle, but the presence of hope. Not perfection but progress. Not an ending, but a beautiful, uncertain beginning. The diner's lights glowed warm behind them. Ahead, the street stretched into darkness and possibility. And Maya walked forward into her future with her head high and her heart open. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more. Thank you for spending your time with us today.